Today on Notsam Wrestling, we look at some of the tributes that have been done and will no doubt continue to be done for the late Hulk Hogan. Cody Rhodes wants the original John Cena back. What makes CM Punk and Gunther so compelling? Summerslam lineups are announced for Saturday and for Sunday, and so much more. This is Notsam Wrestling. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling. Yes, and I am back from San Diego Comic-Con. Of course, you know, on Friday, we released the Hulk Hogan tribute show here on Notsam Wrestling. If you didn't get to hear that, then check that out for sure. We also, on the Raw Recap podcast feed, put out the SummerSlam match reveal show that went up on Friday afternoon, so you can check that out, or we'll discuss it here. And San Diego Comic-Con was a very big deal for yours truly. I went back, as I've done now multiple years in a row, and hosted the Mattel WWE Elite Squad panel, where we reveal a ton of the WWE action figures that are going to be coming out for the rest of the year. And there were so many great ones, right? They announced they're bringing back the LJN line, like the OG. I mean, this goes right into our Hulk Hogan conversation, but for a lot of us, that first WWE action figure was the Hulk Hogan LJN. So they're bringing LJNs back under the LJN name and the whole deal. You can look up photos all over the place. They've got a Make a Difference Rikishi coming out from the New Generation era. They got, I mean, everything. Absolutely everything you can think of, including the highlight for me, standing on that panel, hosting alongside the team at Mattel, as well as Julia, as well as main event Jey Uso, as well as the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, as well as a surprise, the best in the world, CM Punk, who, by the way, was there as part of an announcement that they are doing an action figure of CM Punk's dog, Larry. So not only will we have Jake the Snake Damien, we'll have the British Bulldog's Bulldog, Matilda, we'll have Coco Beware's bird, Frankie, we'll have Cody Rhodes' dog, Pharaoh, and we'll even have CM Punk's dog in action figure form, but Larry. But then at the end of the panel, I guess they pulled the wool over my eyes and they surprised me. They have produced, it's coming out within a month or two, a Mattel Elite Sam Roberts, the OPTC, original and only podcast tribal chief, Mattel action figure. It's very real. It's a Build-A-Figure, so they're putting out a WrestleMania set. This year's WrestleMania set is Jake the Snake Roberts, John Cena, Seth Rollins, and Stardust. And each of those four figures comes with a piece of the last professional broadcaster. So, like, and by the way, there are two heads that come with this action figure. One of them with my current look, and the other one with my much younger look, with the big afro and pre-beard, just a little stubble on the cheeks. So you'll be able to flop heads, whether you want this final form OPTC head or you want the What's the Haps head. You can choose how you want to display your Sam Roberts. But with each of those figures, a piece of Sam Roberts, one figure will have my arms, one figure will have my legs, one figure will have my torso, the fourth figure will have both of my heads. And so when you buy that set, you'll be able to put together your very own Mattel WWE Sam Roberts action figure. I am flabbergasted, blown away. Surreal is an understatement. You know, for me, WWE action figures go hand in hand with my fandom of WWE. So, like, you know, I mean, from the time I started watching wrestling, I was also collecting wrestling action figures. And to me, it's one and the same. I associate the two of them as an individual passion. And I thought that, like, being the one to get to go to these Comic-Con panels and help announce the action figures that Mattel is making and being kind of a spokesman within the WWE for what's going on with the action figure line, I thought that was the dream come true. I thought that was the pinch me, you know, who would have thought that I'd be the one doing this? To, like, see a little Sam action figure show up is, I mean, it's a bucket list item that I wouldn't have had the audacity to put on a bucket list. That's how unexpected and what a big deal and humbling moment it is, especially, and as I said on the panel, for somebody like me who only talks about this. Ultimately, like, all this is possible because of every wrestler that steps in the ring and puts their body on the line and actually wrestles and tells these stories that we can then unpack. So the fact that, like, somehow I've managed and they've managed to allow this to happen is, unbelievable. I'm in this heightened state of appreciation and gratitude for it. If you want to add it to your collection, I'm going to have a link in the description, but you can go to Ringside Collectibles, order the set so you can get the Build a Sam Roberts figure within that set. And Notsam is the promo code for it for 10% off. So it's a really, really exciting thing for me. And that whole thing, the whole weekend, that Thursday is when it was that word got out that Hulk Hogan had passed away. And as I said in the Hulk Hogan tribute show, I'll say, that we put up on the podcast feed on Friday morning, I was surprised with how it struck me and how emotionally it struck me, in the sense that, like, I don't know, I've been very engaged with the ongoings of Hulk Hogan as a human being and the way that we seemingly don't line up with much with how he is as a person. But the minute he was gone was the minute that I looked at that photo of me as an 8-year-old dressed up as Hulk Hogan for Halloween. And I realized that to me is what hit me, that's what I lost. You talk about action figures and all this stuff, the excitement, the spectacle of it all, getting you into professional wrestling. And I attach all of that to Hulk Hogan as the nucleus of it. And so then you kind of get past all the stuff as a human, and that becomes a separate conversation. Not that you need to ignore it, but it becomes a completely separate conversation too. What did this person, character, performer contribute to the world of professional wrestling and professional wrestling as we know it? And in terms of professional wrestling as we know it, in terms of modern day professional wrestling, everything. He contributed everything. The whole definition of what a top guy in the WWE, and I believe that permeates throughout professional wrestling now, is based around the blueprint that was created for Hulk Hogan. And that Hulk Hogan had a hugely strong hand in creating himself, in writing that blueprint. You can't just put the Hulk Hogan formula on anybody and expect the same results. And we know that because they tried it. They tried it with Sid Justice. They tried it with Lex Luger. They tried it with the Ultimate Warrior. And there was just something about, and there isn't another person, I don't think, that you could have put in that same position that Hulk Hogan was put in at the end of 1983, going into 1984, that would have gotten the same result that Hulk Hogan did. Now, would WWE have gone out of business with somebody else? Maybe not. Would WWE still have been that first company to go national? Maybe. But would it have become the mainstream cultural force without Hulk Hogan? I would say no. And we saw, a lot of us were wondering how WWE would pay tribute to Hulk Hogan. And so what we saw at the beginning of SmackDown was, of course, everybody, the whole roster, out on the stage with the Hulk Hogan graphic behind them. And it was, I would say, touching. There was a humorous element to the fact that, like, Uncle Howdy was out there in full gimmick. That I did enjoy panning through and seeing Uncle Howdy's green face and the dreadlocks and everything. But either he doesn't go out there, like, it's not like Bo can take off the Uncle Howdy mask and go like, well, we're going to pretend not to be the Wyatt. You got to be the Wyatts. And then there were video packages throughout the night, kind of displaying, again, the contributions that this character made to professional wrestling and the level to which we connected with Hulk Hogan. I think that most of us when we think about this connection that we have with Hulk Hogan, the human portraying the character is not the connection. We're connected to the character that human created. Because there you can do both things. You can analyze the human being. The human being lied a lot. The human being said some of the most horrendous things you can say on tape. We heard him. Union busted. He did all this stuff. He didn't lose clean to Sting at Starrcade 97. Bad stuff. But I truly think that for most of us, Hulk Hogan represents that gateway character into professional wrestling. It's not going to be for everybody, but most of us have a story of getting, we knew who Hulk Hogan was before we even really wrapped our heads around why we liked wrestling. Before you could tell me what day of the week wrestling was on, you could show me your Hulk Hogan lunchbox. Before you could tell me what month of the year WrestleMania was in, you were throwing an 8-pound Hulk Hogan LJN at your little brother's head. These are like, there is that common story that so many of us who have been wrestling fans for decades have. He represented a style of wrestling that made so many of us as kids fall in love with the sport, and so many of us stay in love with professional wrestling. And I think that has merit, and that's something that we should celebrate. As I said over the weekend, I don't think that the human that made I don't think that the human that made the choices. My loss is the superhero that I watched growing up. That's who I connect to. I don't connect to this other over here. I don't know what that is. I'm talking about the wrestler that made it possible for WWE to not only win when it came time for them to win, and I'm talking about winning in the sense of being able to go national, of being able to take a gamble and see if they could become bigger than any territory in the United States was, so much so that they would be the future that caused these territories to go away. And Hogan was there to lead that charge when WWE became as big as WWE became. And there was one organization that was competitive with WWE that thought that they could beat WWE. It was Hulk Hogan turning heel and becoming the leader of the NWO. That was the only time, really, that the WWE has been on the ropes dealing with competition. It was those two Hogan runs that changed everything. He got us excited about wrestling as kids. He did it again for us when we were teenagers. He was on Johnny Carson's show, and he was also on Jay Leno's show. He brought Jay Leno to Bash at the Beach, for crying out loud. And that's when Jay Leno was the top guy in late night. And that's when people were actually watching late night. Dennis Rodman wanted to team with him so bad that he skipped Bulls practice during the NBA championship series. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. But to me, I was thinking, and we were talking about it again on that Hulk Hogan pod that I did, but I don't think, because as I'm watching, all these tributes come in, and I'm watching everybody kind of reflect on their memories of Hulk Hogan. There are a lot of people who reflect on that 1980s Hulkamania era, going into the 90s as well in the WWE, because that's when they came up as wrestling fans, and that's legit, right? And there's a lot of people who reflect on that Hollywood Hogan era in the NWO and WCW and the weeks that Nitro just continuously beat WWE, doing the absolute impossible. And that's legit. But what I think should be discussed even a little bit more than it is, not more than either of those two eras, but just more than it is like, if you were around for 2002 era Hulk Hogan, it was short, but it was insane. So anybody that has kind of followed me as a pro wrestling fan and content creator, you guys know that for me, 2002 is my favorite single year in the WWE. It's that low-key best year ever. You cannot put on a pay-per-view in 2002 and not go, oh my God, what was going on? And people forget about 2002 a lot because it was in the afterglow of the Attitude Era. WCW was gone. There wasn't this heightened sense of what are you going to watch on Monday night? There wasn't this heightened sense of everything's changing. Like the NWO is something we've never seen before, and the Attitude Era is something we've never seen before. Now we've seen it all. But 2002, I mean, go through pay-per-view by pay-per-view, right? Royal Rumble is that, I mean, it starts with Triple H returning at Madison Square Garden and going to the Royal Rumble. You go to WrestleMania 18, an incredible WrestleMania. You go to SummerSlam 02. You got Shawn coming back to face Triple H. You've got Brock Lesnar beating The Rock. You go to Survivor Series. Survivor Series 2002 was insane. First Elimination Chamber match. Big Papa Pump shows up. The whole thing, everything, and I'm broad strokes 2002. But it was like they packed about 5 years of content into 1 year in 2002. Like, it's with everything that happened in that year, it's hard to believe it all happened in the same year. But one of the things that happened in 2002 was the Hulk Still Rules nostalgia run. So Hogan comes back with Nash and Hall, and nobody is thinking Hogan should be red and yellow. I don't remember that conversation happening. If it did, maybe I'm wrong. But as a fan, I was certainly not having that conversation with my friends. I was not hearing about that conversation. The conversation everybody was having was, number one, oh my gosh, like the NWO that's now been off of TV for like a year, right? And before that, like the NWO as we knew it and loved it ceased to exist by like, you know, the end of 98, right? By Starrcade 98, when Goldberg is catching the shock stick to the gut and Kevin Nash is beating him, like that's kind of the end of even an argument that the NWO is still the NWO. By 99, it was over. And then you start getting into NWO Silver and all this. So like really, you're going back to Bash at the Beach 96 NWO, which had 2.5 years. But you're going, oh my gosh, like the biggest faction up until that point ever in wrestling is now coming into the WWE. And what's this going to be like? And all the dirt sheets, all the sheets, all us fans, we were all going, well, you know, this is like a real life thing, right? Vince McMahon saying, I'm going to inject poison into my creation. I'm going to kill my creation. And I'm going to do it with the NWO. And NWO was painted on the back of his chair. But there was a reality to it. You were hearing these stories that people didn't want the NWO to come back because of all the politics involved. That Hogan didn't want to put people over. Hogan only wanted to be on top. Hogan wanted creative control. You know, you're going back to Finger Poke of Doom. You're going back to Starrcade 97. You're going back to all these horror stories with Hulk Hogan. Who even knew what happened at Bash at the Beach 2000 with Vince Russo? Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, you go, oh no, not the Click again. Not the Click. In 2000, 2002, everybody thought, now I think we look back at the Click as like a beloved thing. Then everybody, oh, the Click, the politics of the Click. You can't have the politics of the Click back in the WWE, and you started to hear stories on the internet that the locker room was like, no. We don't want those guys back. We don't want Hogan back. We don't want the Click back. We got our own thing going on. And there was another side of that coin, which was the top guys that were there were like, hey, we just busted ass at a time where we were worried that this company was going to go out of business to make sure that we put on the best show possible. And now that we won, now that we did our job, we may have to give up our spots to the very guys that were threatening us, to the very guys that we had to beat. You wanted us to go into war, and we won that war. And now you're bringing the enemy soldiers in and saying, maybe we'll give the enemy soldiers your spot. People didn't like it. But all that tension made for interest, right? And so the NWO comes in at No Way Out 2002. the February pay-per-view, and the matches get made, right? We have Scott Hall versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, and we have The Rock versus Hollywood Hogan. Now, two things happened. Number one, within a month of being there, the WWE immediately beat the NWO, and you were just like, all right, like that, they're not quite the threat that they were. If the NWO, if Hogan had been the third man, and the NWO had then lost at Bash at the Beach 96, I don't know that the threat of an NWO takeover would have been quite as severe in the WCW, but whatever. So the NWO lose. But more importantly, Rock and Hogan are in the ring together, and all of a sudden, the fans are chanting, Hogan, Hogan. And when they got to the yeah boo spot, punching back and forth, it's yeah for Hogan, it's boo for The Rock. And you realize that something that you hadn't realized before they got there, and I think something that you hadn't really realized even in the build of this match, is that in this instance, and this has happened before, that as big as the NWO was, and as big as Hollywood Hogan was, and as much as WCW, by the way, after the NWO, WCW brought back red and yellow Hogan. And it was like, But you know what? Red and yellow Hogan never felt like it was WCW's. Hollywood Hogan was a WCW character. But even before he was Hollywood Hogan, people were kind of tired of it. And also, red and yellow Hogan was a WWE gimmick. But now that he was back in the WWE, it was almost like we don't want Hogan from 96, 97. It's now 2000. The 10-year-olds that were watching Hulk Hogan in 1990 are now 20-year-olds. They're now adults. And what do they want? They want a blast of nostalgia. They want to see again red and yellow Hogan. They want Hulkamania to start running wild. And they were telling us just in the middle of the match. And you're going, whoa. And The Rock ends up winning the match, but The Rock had to start working as a heel. Hogan had to start bringing out more of his Hoganisms. And every time he brought out a Hoganism, people would flip out for it. And they took note of this. They said, wait a minute, we got something here. And you want to talk about a disruption. The NWO was not a disruption to the WWE. The fact that the fans wanted Hulk Hogan back was the disruption. Hulk still rules was the disruption, because immediately the NWO was disbanded. The next night, Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 18, Hogan gets out of the NWO. Hollywood Hogan is now not a part of the NWO anymore. And he's on The Rock's side, and all of a sudden, he's on the side of the good guys. And within, I think, a week, maybe two, but about a week, he shows up. Triple H has won the championship from Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. And Hogan shows up to talk to Triple H, but now he's still Hollywood. He's still got the stubble, but he's red and yellow. He's got red and yellow tie-dye on. He's got a shirt that says Hulk still rules, a bandana that says Hulk still rules. It's all red and yellow. It's Hollywood, but it's Hulk Hogan. And we're going nuts. Who would have thought this was going to happen? And Hogan goes on this nostalgia run that not only did it disrupt the NWO and throw that out the window, but this whole year had been built around Triple H's return at Madison Square Garden, going to the Royal Rumble, main eventing WrestleMania, and a month after WrestleMania at Backlash, Hogan beats Triple H and becomes the WWE undisputed champion. Now, there was a ton of interference. You had Undertaker interfering. You had and as these matches would continue, as this stuff would continue, Hogan and Triple H would be on the same side because Triple H hadn't turned heel yet. You'd have Ric Flair interfering and Kurt Angle interfering and Chris Jericho interfering and the Undertaker interfering. But you were getting hit with all this stuff all at the same time. Not only did he get his world title win and then he dropped it, but he would end up in a tag team with Edge winning the WWE Tag Team Championship. He would have matches with Kurt Angle, matches with Chris Jericho. It went on for a few months, and then it kind of ended. Brock Lesnar took him out and Brock Lesnar was on this streak. That was the same year. Austin ended up walking out. But the idea was supposed to be that Brock Lesnar would take out Stone Cold Steve Austin in the King of the Ring qualifiers. Brock Lesnar did take out Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Remember, he rubbed the blood across his chest, and then he beat The Rock at SummerSlam. So I think the idea was he would beat Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, and The Rock all in 1 year. to become the next big thing. And look, he still became the next big thing without Austin, but everybody remembers that moment. And Hulk Hogan would then go away after he lost to Brock Lesnar. And then eventually come back, and he came back as Mr. America, and he had a run there, and then he would leave again, and he came back after he won the Hall of Fame. He had his match with Shawn Michaels, and then his last match in the WWE was actually with Randy Orton. But what I'm really talking about, I'm not really talking about, I mean, the Mr. America angle is hilarious. Him and Shawn, with Shawn, doing his over-the-top selling, and the fact that Randy Orton and Hogan had a match, all of it's great. But I'm really talking about that Hulk Still Rules era. Because, like I said, in the afterglow of the Attitude Era, we are just coming out of this thing where it's flip off your boss and beat this one up and beat that one up and just the raunchiest and most inappropriate, offensive stuff ever. And what do we all want? What do we all need in the middle of all of this, where reality is reigning supreme? We want Hulk Hogan nostalgia. We want the red and yellow. We want what you gonna do. We want Hogan posing. We want Hogan as champion. And the fans did want it, and they went nuts when they got it. If you've got time, first of all, like, whenever you get a chance, just run through 2002 WWE, because it's unbelievably underrated. But also, while you're celebrating, like, Hulkamania heyday Hogan, and when you're celebrating NWO Hollywood Hogan era, give the Hulk Still Rules era a little bit of love, because it really was a remarkable era for Hulk Hogan. Which, rest in peace, by the way. Guys, we're going to get right back to it, but if you keep having to decide between having time for breakfast and making it to work on time, maybe grab a Huel instead. Huel is a complete meal in a bottle. It's high in protein, it's low in sugar, and it's packed with all the nutrients that your body needs. Their Black Edition, ready-to-drink meal in a bottle is crazy. It's got 35 grams of protein plus 27 vitamins and minerals. Whatever you're up to, Huel's going to make sure that you are fueled up. You know how busy I am. I can't get anything done, and all I'm trying to do is get enough nutrition in so I don't absolutely collapse. Huel is a lifesaver. If that's not enough, Huel comes in chocolate and vanilla, and it seriously tastes like a milkshake. Even I can enjoy it. Start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers. 15% off using my exclusive code NOTSAM at Huel.com. That's 15% off for new customers with code NOTSAM at Huel.com. See our show notes for the terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition, bottled. I did want to talk about what we've got going on right now, which is SummerSlam and the build-up to SummerSlam. We have CM Punk versus Gunther. We got a segment between the two of them last week on Raw. By the way, Gunther would have been an amazing Hulk Hogan villain, because it's like Gunther is this guy who the tricks don't work, the Hulk up, the train say your prayers, eat your vitamins, the catchphrases, the gimmicks. None of it works on Gunther. He doesn't live in that world. So how does Hulk deal with that? That would have been amazing. But, I really think CM Punk versus Gunther has the opportunity to be a sleeper hit at SummerSlam. This is one of those matches that realistically, they've got two televisions to build up to. You had the gauntlet match, then you had the promo last week on Raw, then you have whatever you're going to do this week on Raw, and that's it. Now we're at SummerSlam. I think if you had 6 weeks to really build up CM Punk versus Gunther, which who knows if that was originally the plan or not. But if you had 6 weeks to build up that match, then I think you got something massive on your hands. Because I think the spirit of this is, where is Gunther at in terms of being unbeatable? And is now the time for CM Punk to finally get that belt? And I think with 6 weeks of build, you could have convinced the world, yeah, it's time for CM Punk to have that belt. We'll see what they do this week, because I think that that's an important part of the equation. But yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be really, really good, because CM Punk has to get into Gunther's environment. This is taking CM Punk into a different reality. No matter, basically every other rivalry he's had, it's almost like Drew McIntyre entered into CM Punk's world. Seth Rollins entered into CM Punk's world. All of the rivalries that he's had leading up to right now, the center point has been CM Punk, in the sense that even with Roman, it's like there's something like it's not just CM Punk and this guy have a back and forth rivalry. It's certainly not CM Punk needs to prove something to this person. It's this visceral hatred that these characters have for CM Punk that build the match into what it is. And that was true with Seth, and that was true with Drew, and that's becoming more and more true with Roman Reigns as things continue. But with Gunther, he doesn't care about CM Punk. Gunther's whole character is he doesn't care who's in his locker room. This idea of ego, and he talked about ego on Raw, and how CM Punk and him both have these massive egos. But for him, it has nothing to do with audience reaction. For him, it's all just what he does in the ring, which means that like his ego is probably not going to be threatened, unless somebody can beat him, is not going to be threatened by any wrestler. The only time his ego has been threatened by wrestlers is if Jey Uso walks around continuously thinking, well, I beat you once, I could beat you anytime I want. Well, now his ego is going to be threatened. But this idea of so-and-so shouldn't be in my locker room, Gunther doesn't care who's in his locker room. He knows he's better than them. So now you've got this first moment since CM Punk's return to WWE, where CM Punk is going into his opponent's world. CM Punk is going in to Gunther's environment. Like, the whole story of this is that the big picture is fans want to see CM Punk as champion. But the story of Gunther is that the big picture doesn't matter to him. The larger story is not what Gunther has ever been about. Gunther doesn't care what fans want to see. The larger story is tonight, Gunther goes in the ring and he beats whoever he's in the ring with. That's the whole story. There is no, well, this happens and then that happens and the legacy and the this and the that. Nothing. It's just Gunther goes into the ring and he wins. And, you know, I mean, you look at this and you go, when you look at Gunther and CM Punk, the first question you ask in any match like this is, where does it go next? I think that the idea that we feel like CM Punk might be the one to win and then doesn't is amazing. Because where does it go next? Well, CM Punk is able to, you know, put his boots back on and go out to the ring and wrestle. If anything, the next person can look at CM Punk as weaker because he lost to Gunther, and now CM Punk's got something to prove. Maybe after this, CM Punk starts wrestling Braun Breaker. Maybe after this, CM Punk wrestles whoever it is. And that person says, well, you couldn't beat Gunther. You couldn't get it done. And that leads to the next story for CM Punk. If Gunther were to just win, what's next for Gunther? If Gunther were to beat CM Punk, then now we're in the territory of Gunther might just be able to beat anybody. You know, people say that Brock Lesnar should not have beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania and it didn't do anything, and that's not true. Brock Lesnar had lost multiple matches going into WrestleMania 30. In fact, it felt more like Brock Lesnar was in the WWE so that he could be built up as this monster heel for a good guy to beat. Triple H had beaten him. John Cena had beaten him. And walking into WrestleMania 30, you go, well, of course The Undertaker's going to beat Brock Lesnar. And that's what Brock Lesnar's role kind of is. Brock Lesnar did not become indestructible on the more recent run until he beat The Undertaker. He beat The Undertaker, and then he destroyed John Cena, and all of a sudden it's a different Brock Lesnar, where every time Brock Lesnar shows up, you go, yeah, but how are they going to beat Brock Lesnar? Nobody beats Brock Lesnar. Gunther has had losses before. Gunther lost to Sami Zayn. Gunther lost to Jey Uso. But if Gunther can beat CM Punk at SummerSlam and just beats him, well, now you've got a Gunther who it's like, well, you're not just going to have him beat Jey Uso, Goldberg, and then CM Punk just so he loses to this guy or just so he loses to that guy. At that point, you really do go, well, now we're seeing a Gunther that nobody can beat. And so as you build opponents for him, there's a new lore going into all those matches, and I think a higher degree of excitement that goes into all those matches because we rarely have people like that are also full-time. It's one thing if he goes away and then he comes back as the monster's back. But when you have somebody like that on the roster full-time, and I think Gunther's one of the very few people that can actually pull that off. Now, of course, we may not just get Gunther winning. We may not just get CM Punk winning. We could get Seth Rollins coming back. You know, we don't know. People are still speculating as to what the nature of Seth Rollins' injury actually is. People criticized Roman Reigns in his promo on Raw, which, by the way, we talked about on a podcast that we posted earlier in the week, if you want to go check that out. But people were critical of Roman Reigns for not mentioning Seth Rollins and instead mentioning CM Punk, saying that his problem with Paul Heyman doesn't start with Seth Rollins. It actually goes back to Survivor Series. I mean, it goes back to WrestleMania. And CM Punk, it goes back to right before. It doesn't start with the low blow at the end of WrestleMania. It goes to Paul Heyman walking out with CM Punk at the beginning of that WrestleMania match. And people say, well, I mean, he's not bringing up Seth Rollins at all. He's talking about Braun Breaker. He's talking about CM Punk. Why wouldn't he talk about Seth Rollins? Well, clearly there's a reason for that. Clearly that's not like, oh, I forgot. Clearly, whether it's because Seth Rollins is going to be out of action for a while and you don't want to hype up a story that you're not going to be able to pay off, whether he's going to be out of action for less time than we think, but he's going in a different direction, whatever it is, there's a reason that didn't happen. It could be, so we're not thinking about Seth Rollins. And why would we not want to think about Seth Rollins? Well, maybe he's not coming back. Maybe he is coming back. Both of those things could be a reason to want us to not think about that guy. But if, and I think we're going to be saying this about every big title match going forward. And I think I hope we don't find out the nature of this injury. If Seth Rollins is going to be out for a considerable period of time, I hope that that's kept a big secret. Because as long as it's not announced, and even if it is announced, maybe we wouldn't believe it. But there is this thinking that now every time a match like this comes up, we have to go, well, either CM Punk wins, or Gunther wins, or is Seth going to cash in? Is Seth healed? Is Seth better? Is Seth not injured? Is Seth this? Is Seth that? But there is this version where Seth returns. Now, look, Roman Reigns is wrestling on the same night, I believe. We'll go over it in a minute. But I believe Roman Reigns is wrestling on the same night as CM Punk and Gunther. So we don't know what the headline match is going to be. We don't know exactly what the main event, I don't think, for Saturday night is going to be. If it's going to be the tag match or if it's going to be the World Heavyweight Championship match. Roman Reigns could get involved with a Seth Rollins cash-in as well. Seth Rollins could go in for a cash-in, eat a spear, and not effectively cash it in. And then CM Punk is going, what are you doing here, Roman Reigns? And then Gunther puts a sleeper hold on CM Punk and wins the match. And now the problem between Roman and Punk is larger. The problem between Seth and Roman is larger because he blew the cash in. And Gunther has everybody looking for him for a championship match. That's a possible finish. That's one thing that could happen. Seth Rollins could just simply cash in. And if Seth Rollins cashes in and is now the World Heavyweight Champion, well, now you've got CM Punk that's going to want to come after Seth Rollins. Now you've got Gunther that's going to want to come after Seth Rollins. Now you got Roman Reigns that's going to want to come after Seth Rollins. And who knows? Maybe there's tension with Braun Breaker now. Maybe there's a million possibilities. You know, for me, and maybe it's just because I don't want to see Gunther lose the title. I feel like the best case scenario, if Seth is coming back, is attempt to cash in, Roman spoils it, Punk is annoyed. Gunther puts on the sleeper. Gunther wins the match. I feel like that's how you've created the most conflict among the most characters. But if Seth is injured and Seth isn't coming back, then you know what I'd love to see? No interference at all. No Roman Reigns at all. And Gunther puts a sleeper hold on CM Punk, and CM Punk goes to sleep. And then you just leave going, what? And you got Jaws on the ground, and you've got quiet in MetLife Stadium, and you've got Gunther pleased with himself, and you've got the same reaction that we got when Gunther beat Jey Uso. At first, the reaction was, what? That's it? And then once people sat with it, I feel like more and more of the people that I spoke to came to this realization like, oh, of course that's it. Oh, this is what we're doing now. Oh, I think that moment could be repeated, but even bigger at SummerSlam if you have Gunther just take out CM Punk. We'll see. Like I said, I think that whatever happens in that match, there's so many possibilities that it's going to be a sleeper hit of SummerSlam. But I also think it was very interesting on SmackDown that Cody cut a promo and he's not wasting mic time. There is story being told here, but you have to really, I think you have to pay attention to the words being said, Like, I think that Cody and Cena has that same potential of Punk and Gunther. And there are other matches too, the tag match. There are many matches that have all this potential. I just think that we haven't even had time to explore all that potential. Because 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Saturday night's main event, and now we've got this massive card that we'll go over in a minute. But a lot of matches, so many things could happen. And Cody Cena is one of them. So Cody comes out on SmackDown and he cuts that short promo where he says something about Hulk Hogan, and then he starts getting into the match at SummerSlam and getting into what Joe Tess had said about him on commentary and what we discussed here on the podcast last week, but really said sometimes, and this is what stayed with me. He said, sometimes doing the right thing doesn't look like the right thing. I think that was a very important line. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't look like it's the right thing. I mean, that's some Homelander stuff, is what that is. You guys watch The Boys? He's crashing planes over here full of people, and he said, well, I did the right thing, but it just doesn't look like the right thing. Cody, the premise of his promo was that he's got this street fight. And that's really why he said sometimes doing the right thing doesn't look like the right thing. Because the street fight is going to be a straight up street fight. But he also says that in this street fight, he doesn't want this version of John Cena to be at SummerSlam. He said, if this is John Cena's last SummerSlam, he wants the real John Cena to show up. He wants John Cena to be talking to Stu in the entryway. He wants John Cena to run to the ring. He wants the hustle. He wants the loyalty, and they will beat the respect out of each other, Cody Rhodes says. And I don't know, the way Cody Rhodes sets this up, it's not like it was just said for nothing. What if Cody gets his wish? What if we actually get OG John Cena at SummerSlam? I think if we get that music and we don't get the blacked out Tron, we get the and like there's colorful stuff going on and everything, and John Cena is interacting with the crowd again, saying, okay, Cody, if this is the John Cena you want, this is the John Cena you're going to get, MetLife will go insane. We've been talking about this idea that at some point John Cena has to go back to being a babyface. Well, maybe John Cena goes back to being a babyface for one night. Cody, I'm going to give you exactly what you wanted. This is what you asked for. If we get old John Cena back, I mean, does it go back to this idea of the Hulk still rules Hulk Hogan? Has there been enough separation between heel John Cena and old John Cena for fans to really go like, oh my God, this is the John Cena that I wanted? Because the real John Cena, the OG John Cena, the John Cena that Cody Rhodes is asking for, is a good guy. He's asking for John Cena to be a babyface at SummerSlam. And, Cody says sometimes doing the right thing doesn't look like the right thing. What's it going to look like in a street fight if we see OG John Cena out there and Cody Rhodes beats him bloody? How are we going to react if we get John Cena back and it's not like over the top? It's John Cena. Super Cena. It's the John Cena that we got at the Royal Rumble. And Cody beats him bloody. How is that going to feel? I don't even really know for sure. Maybe they don't know for sure. Maybe they're interested in seeing what happens. Because as much as we'll get this babyface John Cena again, we're going to get a street fight. And usually, when old school John Cena has been in a street fight with somebody that's going to beat them bloody, the guy that John Cena is fighting is a bad guy. Like, on top of beating him bloody and on top of it being a street fight and on top of all this, can you imagine we finally get John Cena back and Cody beats him? If we get real John Cena back that Cody's asking for and Cody wins the match, are we going to be cheering? Or if we get real John Cena back, is that what we're going to want? Like, Cody beating the guy who wants to ruin wrestling and beating him for us so that guy doesn't ruin our wrestling makes perfect sense. It's a very basic 1 and 2 story. It's kind of the story of WrestleMania. That guy wants to retire as champion. I'm going to beat him to make sure he's not champion. And look, I'm now the champion, and I did it for you. Perfectly sort of straight up good guy versus bad guy story. But Cody beating OG John Cena on the first night that OG John Cena is back, that makes Cody complicated. It doesn't mean, and I'm telling you, are we going to be happy? Are we going to react? Are we going to cheer? Are we going to boo? It doesn't mean it's a straight up heel turn. It could. It could mean a straight up heel turn. But it doesn't necessarily. It's almost like, well, what if we get old John Cena back and Cody beats him and then we just listen? We just hear what the audience has to say about it. And we move from there. It's possible. And then what if Cody gets his wish and we get OG John Cena back? And then he beats Cody. What if Cody loses? What if we get the John Cena back that Cody's asking for and Cody actually loses the match? And then John Cena shows up on SmackDown and is like, you know what? It felt good. And if I'm going to retire as champion, this is how I'm going to retire as champion. And now, all of a sudden, Cody Rhodes is hunting down this John Cena that Cody himself is the one that brought back. Cody brought back a John Cena that's even more... See, Cody had figured out all the tricks of bad guy John Cena, but Cody brought back good guy John Cena. And now Cody's going to have to figure out how to be good guy John Cena. And that doesn't mean be a good or good guy. That means be a worse bad guy. What happens if good guy John Cena drives Cody to the point of insanity? What happens if Cody Rhodes becomes a good guy John Cena hunter? How do we react to that? Maybe it's a straight up heel turn, but maybe it's simply a shift in character that the audience determines where this is, because ultimately John Cena's gone in December anyway. So if Cody is making character changes, it should not be because it makes the John Cena story more interesting, because the John Cena story is done at the end of this year, and Cody Rhodes has been the babyface that has carried this company through an incredibly prosperous time, and to give up a babyface on the level of Cody is a very risky thing to do. But if the feeling is that that's what's best, not for the John Cena character, but for the Cody character, well, then it could be a reason to do it, you know? If this Cody, the one who destroys the original John Cena to get the title, is a bad guy, it does open up a lot of possibilities. Now, you've got a match with Roman Reigns, where Roman Reigns is getting cheered and Cody is getting booed. Now you've got a match with CM Punk, where CM Punk is getting cheered and Cody is getting booed. You got a conversation about The Rock and which side The Rock is on. You got Cody able to say, hey, Roman, while you were being selfish and not moving the business forward, I was the one who was fighting. I was the one who was here every week. I was the one who was on every live event. I was the one doing all the media. You could say, Punk, while you were gone, I was the one who came back. I was the one who did, because Cody cutting that promo, that last AEW promo where Cody spelled out that everything CM Punk said in his pipe bomb, Cody actually did. It was a great promo. If Cody said that as a guy who's getting booed, it's a whole new skew on it. All that said, is there anyone who can be a full-time true babyface for the company the way Cody has been? That's my whole hang-up about this idea of like, yeah, let's turn Cody. Yeah, let's turn Cody. Well, then who is the guy that can fill Cody's shoes, that can be that top babyface and can be that top babyface week in, week out, and be a real top babyface that men, women, and children are cheering on every show in every main event, who's doing every bit of media, who's doing his own podcast, who's doing everything? Who is that guy if it's not Cody Rhodes? I don't know if I have the answer, but it's got me pretty jazzed about this SummerSlam match. So here's the card. We did something new. Megan and I announced we did a SummerSlam match reveal show on the Raw Recap podcast feed and on the WWE's YouTube channel here from the Notsam studio, and revealed which matches were happening on which day at SummerSlam. And this is what we've got. For SummerSlam Saturday, first of all, they added Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross to SummerSlam Saturday, which is, I mean, great for Karrion Kross. It'd be great. It's great that he's going to get, hopefully, a PLE entrance with that big entrance, that big Fall and Pray entrance. And I'd love to see Karrion Kross win the match. You know, this is kind of a rubber match. Sami Zayn won one. Karrion Kross won the one on Raw. You know, I'd love to see Kross win this match, because I don't think this is going to be the end of the story, but who knows? You've got all your tag team matches are happening. Well, all but one, theoretically. But you've got Roxanne and Raquel versus Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. I'm very interested to see if Charlotte is a babyface in New Jersey. I kind of think she will be. And I kind of think like this is where you make the move. I kind of think this is where you put the tag team championship on Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. And while that may disrupt Judgment Day stories, I don't know, man. There's something happening with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. There's something that is catching on with people. People are enjoying Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. And I think winning the tag team championship together is going to elevate both of them and get them to the point where you need them to be. But I kind of want to see them win the tag team championship. You've got Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I have a feeling they're going to put it on Jade Cargill. I have a feeling that might happen. You've got Jelly Roll and Randy Orton versus Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre as your celebrity match. This feels like it's built for the good guys to win. And then you got your two matches that I don't know which one is going to headline. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Which, I don't know, it would be something if Seth Rollins interfered in this match. Braun and Braun win, and then he tries to cash in and Roman stops him. But maybe that's too much Seth Rollins. Because it feels like Roman and Jay should win this match. Maybe Jay pins Bronson Reed, and then you can move. Yeah. I'd probably do Jay pins Bronson Reed, and then there's a beatdown on both of them after the match. Maybe they tie up Jay in something, and Roman Reigns takes a huge beatdown after the match. Okay, so Jay pins Bronson Reed. Then somehow maybe somebody new comes out, or maybe they just get their hands on Jay and they tie him up. But Jay gets tied up. Roman takes a beating the likes of which he's never seen before. And that way, Braun and Braun still look strong coming off of it, and eventually you can still get to Roman Reigns versus Braun Breaker. And then Gunther versus Punk, I've already spent time with, but however you cut it, I want to see Gunther leave with the championship. Then you've got Sunday. Now, it wasn't announced until SmackDown. SmackDown went off the air. I'm assuming, just based on the number of matches, 6 on each card, we had only announced 5 matches for SummerSlam on Sunday. This would be a 6th match. So I'm assuming it's happening on Sunday. But we've got a TLC match. It's the Wyatts, the Motor City Machine Guns, DIY, the Street Profits, Fraxium, and Andrade and Rey Fenix in a 6-way TLC Tag Team Championship match. This match is going to be absolutely insane. This tag division is nuts right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this opens the show. If it's on Sunday, I would think this will open the show on Sunday. And I bet Andrade and Phoenix get the titles. You know, you don't want to see the Wyatts lose the belts, but if they're going to lose them, a ladder match where there's 5 other teams in it is the easiest way to do it. I think Andrade and Phoenix win this match. You've got Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles. AJ could win, but I feel like Dominic should win. Dominic, who just showed up in AAA, who's going to move on to Triple Mania and be in a 4-way for that AAA Mega Championship with, I believe, Dragon Lee, Grande Americano, and Vikingo. So I don't know. I just don't want to see Dominic lose. You've got Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, no disqualification. I think Lyra wins, but I think she's going to start turning heel. But I think Lyra wins. Or maybe Bayley turns heel. No DQ. Maybe Bayley comes out and helps Becky or something. I don't know. Maybe, but then she can't. I feel like Lyra's going to win this match. Triple threat, Naomi, Rhea, and Io. I think Naomi's retaining. Then you have your cage match, Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. As much as I want to see Jacob win, I don't see Solo losing the title yet. I don't see Solo losing the title, and I feel like as much as it is a build for Jacob, I think they want Solo and the MFTs to be taken seriously. I think Solo might retain. And then Cena versus Cody. I already talked about it for like 15 minutes. There's a lot of different directions that Cena and Cody could go in. I feel like Cody's going to win the title. I think Cody's going to win the title, but it's not going to be the clear-cut celebration that it was the first time. I think the championship may start corrupting Cody Rhodes. That's kind of where I'm at. I'd love to hear your opinion on this or anything else. Of course, I'm sure that we'll have emergency podcasts this week. We'll have daily content because thanks to Notsam Wrestling Live, which, by the way, is on Sirius XM 156, which is Pro Wrestling Nation. Every day, Monday through Thursday, 12 to 2 p.m. We've been posting stuff from that show on the podcast feed and on the YouTube channel. But if you want to listen to an additional 2-hour live wrestling show every day, all week long, Monday through Thursday, get Sirius XM and listen to me there. You can call in. It's a blast. But we'll have stuff to talk about that we'll put here. And then I'm assuming, I would imagine, right, after Saturday and Sunday, we'll have emergency podcasts. We'll definitely have SummerSlam recap podcast going up on the Raw recap podcast feed, as well as the WWE YouTube channel. So plenty of content to come. And I would think, based on the way pay-per-views go a lot of the times, that next week's Not Sam podcast, I mean, it could come out. I would imagine we'll get an emergency pod after SummerSlam Sunday, which would mean that we probably won't get episode 563 until Wednesday morning, I would guess. But we'll see. We'll see. Everything is up in the air. But what's not up in the air is how you can get your opinions to me. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com is our email address. That's NotSamWrestling@gmail.com. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com. We go to Toby, who says, can you provide some context to some of us younger fans who didn't live through it as to why Hogan slamming Andre was as big a deal as it was? Dave said on Busted Open it was probably more important than Hogan actually winning the match, and I'm having a hard time understanding why. It had to be deeper than Andre was heavy, right? Well, Andre didn't, the way he was portrayed as undefeated. Was he actually undefeated? Whatever. But he was, I mean, Hogan was the irresistible force. Andre was the immovable object. You know, Nia Jax is known as the irresistible force, but that's based on a Gorilla Monsoon call from WrestleMania 3. The irresistible force meets the immovable object. Andre the Giant was the eighth wonder of the world. Andre the Giant didn't go down to his back. Andre the Giant didn't lay down for anybody. And it was built that nobody could pick this guy up. Nobody could slam this guy. He was more than human. You know, they tried to recreate it with the Yokozuna body slam competition on July 4th of 1993 when they brought in Lex Luger thinking he could be the next Hulk Hogan. And how do you make the next Hulk Hogan? Have him slam the next Andre, which is Yoko. And Yoko ruled, but it didn't, you know, it wasn't, you can't, like I said, you can't just plug anybody in. Hogan is Hogan. You know, I don't know if I said Hogan slamming Andre is the moment in the match. Had Andre won the match, I don't think Hogan slamming Andre would have been as big of a deal. But people, between 70 and 90,000 people bought a ticket to see Hulk Hogan body slam Andre the Giant because nobody had seen it. So that's kind of, I mean, what it was. You have to realize that, like, back then, these specialty events, especially at WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania was a once-a-year spectacle that the world could all watch at the same time. And there wasn't a lot of that in wrestling. And we weren't getting that every single month. We didn't have 15 PLEs a year. And this idea that I mean, it was marketing and hype that this could happen. You have to be there to see it. And tens of thousands of people bought tickets, really, to watch Hogan slam Andre and beat him. Because up until that point, Andre was this unbeatable attraction, and Hogan was the unbeatable world champion. But they got along. They were both baby faces. So the idea that Andre would turn heel, now you had two forces that over the last several years had been built and marketed as unbeatable forces. And the symbolism of Hogan being the one to body slam Andre was it. So I hope that brings some kind of clarity. You know, it was marketing. It was hype. Daniel writes in, hail to my only, the chosen podcast tribal chief. I appreciate that. I digress. Minus a Fatu. Yeah, let me hit you with one of those. I'm with you on the fantasy booking set to cash in on the Universal title. Still hoping it happens at SummerSlam, but my reason is to write Cena and maybe Cody off for a few weeks. Maybe if Cena loses the title, he can disappear for 4 to 6 weeks. It's easier for him to come back as a face. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be a face, you could do it a million different ways. You don't have to make it easier for him to do that, you know? I mean, he could do it however he wants to do it, really. 2 questions. Do you think the movie Cody and Roman are rumored to be in could conflict with their ability in the fall? I have no idea. They're supposed to be in Street Fighter. That's what I've heard, but I have no idea when it's shooting. And question 2, with Money in the Bank slated for August, could Seth be allowed to keep the briefcase past June? I have no idea, but they said, I mean, Paul Heyman said he's got the briefcase until June. So that's all the information that we have. Let's see. Iman writes in, I think this one requires a real in-depth thought process. Oh, no. When you start to dissect them further, as there are so many ways to look at it, but what is the best run that WrestleMania ever went on? That's interesting. No doubt 17 to 24. That's a lot of WrestleManias. Is an incredible run for WrestleMania. But Let's take down the best trilogy of WrestleManias. Is it WrestleMania 17 to 19? That was good. WrestleMania 20 to 22. Oof, that was good too. 2002. Oh no, 2002 is 18. So you have 2000. Yeah, 2001, 2002, 2003, 04, 05, 06, or WrestleMania 38 to 40 from Iman in Belfast. First of all, thank you. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Honestly, I didn't. For me, it's not 20 to 22 for me. Those aren't my preferred. I mean, they're great, but they're not my preferred WrestleManias. 17 to 19 is good, but I don't know, man. There's just something. WrestleMania to 38 to 40, I think, is it. WrestleMania 38 was amazing. An amazing two-night WrestleMania. You get Stone Cold coming back, the match with Kevin Owens, Logan Paul debut, Roman versus Brock, the two titles coming together, everything. Unbelievable. WrestleMania 39 was really the culmination of the bloodline. You had Sammy and KO finally beating the... And by the way, 38 was also Sammy and Johnny Knoxville, underrated classic. 39, you got Sammy and KO beating the Usos in the main event of night one. You've got Roman and Cody and the unthinkable happening and Roman beating Cody in the main event of night two. That was excellent. And then WrestleMania 40 is one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Yeah, I'd say 38 to 40, honestly. 38 to 40 of those three is probably my favorite WrestleMania trilogy. Willie writes in, I woke up and found myself recently being a huge fan of the new iteration of the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day has the tendency to do that to people, mainly because of the chemistry of Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez in and outside of the ring. Of course, Dom being Dom is always hilarious. This new team-friendly with Finn Balor even makes JD McDonough look cool. My question is, am I tripping, or has the Judgment Day switched from heels to baby faces right in front of our eyes? Well, Finn and JD definitely got a babyface reaction. I do think that the Judgment Day is in another spot where it's like, it felt like the plan was to break them up, but they're really great. And I don't know that that's the route you want to take with them. I kind of feel like, don't break up the Judgment Day right now. Maybe when Liv comes back, maybe something could happen there. But like, I would keep them together until Liv comes back, because I'm with you, dude. The Judgment Day is working. Raj writes in from Queens, the Raw recap interview with the New Day was the best one yet. Hearing Kofi trash talk reminds me of the promos he cuts on his opponents on the Up, Up, Down, Down channel. Wow. I'm not a fan of heel New Day, but a lot of the things they said about not being treated fairly made sense. What was going on through your mind during the interview? Do you agree with the New... Well, do you agree with the New Day is what he was asking. No, they were being very rude to me. So it becomes very difficult for me to agree with that group as they were being very, very rude to me. I can take myself out of the equation and see that many people would find that very entertaining, but I don't know why it has to be at my expense. Let's see. Let's go to Davey. Hey, Sam, OPTC. Thanks for keeping my wrestling knowledge sharper than ever on the weekly. Nobody does it like you. Appreciate that. What if we were to get Finn in the Judgment Day, turn on Dominic, and help AJ Styles win at SummerSlam? No, I don't want to see a New Age Bullet Club, but can I admit that seeing AJ, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough stand as a unit would be too sweet? Yeah, this will also aim Dom in more potential prominent babyface. Yeah, no, I think, look, you're not wrong that if AJ, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough were a group, it would kill. That would be awesome. But Dominic on his own as a babyface? I don't know if that works for me. Unless Liv Morgan is coming back soon and Dom and Liv become babyfaces together. I don't know if, Dom is in the position right now to just all of a sudden be this babyface who can stand on his own. Because if he is, it's almost like, well, then why have you been acting the way you've been acting for like years now? I think that's I don't think it would be good for Dom for all that to happen. But I do think JD, AJ, and Finn Balor as a group would be amazing. And some kind of Bullet Club connectivity would not be a bad thing. Andrew, I think I talked about this with the thing. Oliver writes in. Hello, my OPTC, the last professional broadcaster and the undisputed king of all wrestling-related media. I would agree with all that. Saw the Sam Roberts Mattel figure, and I think it's great. You're in a line with Rollins, Cena, Rhodes, and Jake the Snake in the set. Pretty royal company. Definitely got to get my hands on one. Is there any way to buy it solo, or do I need to buy the whole Elite set to put you together? You need to get the whole Elite set. But I mean, even if you don't collect action figures, if that's your set, Rollins, Cena, Jake Roberts, and Stardust, and me, that's kind of a built-in collection right there. My question for you is, if you could have any other non-wrestling action figures besides another one of yourself, who would it be? If you could have any other non-wrestler action figure besides another one of yourself, who would it be? Oh, okay. Like, who would I want an action figure of that then I could like hang with? Like put him right next to me? Oh, I should put my Final Boss figure right next to me. That's a good question. I guess I love a lot of horror movies, but they make action figures of most of those horror movie villains. You know, I could say Dr. Loomis from Halloween, but you know, I'd like maybe like a Rob Zombie in scale. Like if Mattel could, they've done Rob Zombie action figures before, but maybe like a Rob Zombie in scale. That could be pretty cool. That could be pretty cool to pose with myself. Avik writes in, what's your favorite Hogan match? Quick and simple, Goldberg for me. Hogan versus Goldberg Nitro. No, definitely not that one for me. My favorite Hogan match probably might be Hogan Macho from WrestleMania 5. Maybe Hogan Macho from WrestleMania 5. Let me keep it moving. We'll do a couple more. Kurt writes in, I'd like to acknowledge my podcast tribal chief. Congratulations on the new Sam Roberts WWE Elite action figure. How does it feel to have your very own official WWE figure? It feels like life is a simulation. Other than your own, is there a particular figure from last week's reveals at San Diego Comic-Con that you're particularly excited about? And what characters would you like to see in figure form that you have not yet received Mattel Elite or Ultimate figure? Yes, I'm very excited about Ultimate Umaga. I'm very excited about Make a Difference Fatu. And I'm very excited about Kona Crush. I was thinking about this, if I could have any Elite figure, easy. Hakushi. I think a Hakushi Elite figure would slap. My first live wrestling show was at age 11, was WrestleMania 8, main evented by Sid Justice versus Hulk Hogan. You don't have to tell me that. After the passing of the immortal Hulk Hogan, I'm curious if there's a particular Hulk Hogan action figure or piece of Hulk Hogan merchandise that holds a special place in your heart. You have a true gift for helping longtime wrestling fans like me enjoy the product in new ways. Thank you very, very much. Probably the first Hogan Hasbro figure. Of course, that Hogan LJN is like a classic, but the first Hogan Hasbro figure with the Gorilla Press Slam, that's probably if I could have one piece of Hulk Hogan memorabilia kind of represent that, because that, like, again, it's going back to when I was a kid and when I was 8 years old and when, I think it would be that one. I think it would be Hogan Hasbro Series 1, which I think I have somewhere around here. I mean, I'm sure I have it somewhere around here. Who am I kidding? All right, last email. Sam, it's Cody from Toledo. I was lucky enough to be able to speak to you on Sirius XM 156 a few days back, and I was hoping I could get some more analysis from my wrestling Sherpa. I'd be happy to. These podcasts, isn't somebody worried about the pod scene eating itself alive? I feel like there are too many out there now, and it's saturated the market. I know this is something you have brought up before, but I'm just curious if at some point you think the industry will be or could be too saturated with pod media, which could maybe lead to an echo chamber and an incompetent audience. Just look at the current political landscape as an example. I mean, listen, P.S. Swaggy Solo is the best character right now. So the fact that you're smart enough to know that means that we're still in good shape. Look, you can't, I can control the content that I put out there. For me to say that podcast landscape is oversaturated. The natural follow-up question would be then, okay, quit your podcast. Okay? For me to say podcasting, the idea of creating an opinion is oversaturated. Meanwhile, I have this podcast, the Raw Recap podcast. I'm on SiriusXM talking about wrestling 4 days a week. I'm also doing a morning show 4 days a week. Like the amount, and that's just like the baseline. The amount of shows that I'm doing every week, I am not contributing to there being less content out there. However, I got a lot to say, and I'd like to share it, and I think people enjoy it, and I love doing it, so I'm going to keep doing it. No, I think people should listen to what people want to listen to. I think if people, I don't think of myself as an expert on most of this stuff. So if you listen to a podcast, be it a good podcast or a bad podcast, and you consider yourself an expert after that, you're probably wrong. You know what I mean? I think maybe, I think listen, to me, the cream rises, this thing could be as saturated as it's going to be. The cream rises. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm really not worried. If you as a podcaster are watching other podcasts and going, there's too many of these things, it's making the market too crowded, then maybe your product's not that special. I try to make a product that is extremely unique. I don't think that there is anybody out there that does things exactly the same way that I do them. Not to say it's good, not to say it's better. It's just I do things my own way. If you like the way I do things, then I think I would be who you would listen to. If you don't like the way I do things, there's plenty of other stuff to listen to. I'm going to do a couple more emails. Oliver, hello, my OPTC, the last professional broadcast. Oh, no. You must have sent that twice. Let's see. Okay, last one. Because I think I'm pushing it. Lloyd writes in. Sam, long time, fifth time, my OPTC won.
We're long.
5, 2.
I hit the wrong button, but this is still a good button.
On gaming, Sam. And by the way, I hear you on your podcast. You said a lot of things.
That was The Rock. First, congrats on the Mattel figure. I know that will have meant a lot to you. You must be on cloud 9 and you deserve it. Thank you very much, Lloyd. Secondly, and forgive me if this was mentioned, I'm sending this on Thursday evening. Why is nobody talking about Solo and the MFTs basically cosplaying The Rock? All Solo needs to do is switch to jeans and a fanny pack. The top half is the same as that famous pic. You know the one. Oh, the meme. The turtleneck. Yeah, I see it. They all seem to wear those thick silver chains and black tops, but Solo's neckline is super high. Your thoughts? Completely unnecessary picture attached. No, I see it. I don't know. Maybe it's just to get people talking. Maybe it's not as intentional as you're thinking it is. But yeah, it's at least worth looking at. It's not nothing, and we're living in a world where everything counts. So if everything counts, everything counts. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me again this week. Don't forget to stay subscribed to the audio feed where we're updating basically every single day right now. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel where we're updating every single day right now. Just put up the Hulk Hogan podcast, which you should all listen to and watch. Just put up a Damian Priest interview on Saturday, which you should all listen to and watch, and so much more. Check it all out. Enjoy it. It's not oversaturated. And we'll see you next time. Happy SummerSlam week from Notsam Wrestling.